Sunday, March the 1st, 2020. That evening, the Prescott side of the family gathered together at the Homefield Arms in Thorns Park, Wakefield, to celebrate one of my cousin's birthdays. Little did we know that this would be the last time that we'd be able to gather in this way for 13 months and counting. Little did we know that we would be unable to gather as a family for our traditional Christmas meal later that year. I'm thankful that we did have this opportunity to gather together one final time before restrictions came in and COVID-19 took a huge hold on our lives. I'm sure that there are many families who wish that they had taken the opportunity to have a Last Supper together. For some, it would have been the last time that they were all together, as loved ones have sadly been lost during the time since. Now, Good Friday is the day when Christians remember the crucifixion of Jesus. But the Easter weekend begins really the night before, and what we know as Maundy Thursday. This is when Jesus shares the Last Supper with his closest followers. After that meal, they head to the Garden of Gethsemane, where we see Jesus at his most vulnerable and most human. It is here where we see him almost begging God for there to be another way, because he knows what's coming. He knows that his time of suffering is upon him, but he is resolute in carrying out God's plan for saving the world. It is here in the garden where he is betrayed and then arrested. And during the night, Jesus is tried by the Jewish leaders before being handed over to the Roman governor. Before all this, Jesus sends the disciples to prepare the Passover meal, as they would have done every year, as many were doing all across Jerusalem. This was an annual festival, so it would have been an annual celebration that Jesus shared with his disciples. But this one was different. Probably not to the disciples, because they don't appear to have picked up on the hints that Jesus has been giving them, and so they're probably just carrying on as normal. But as I've said, Jesus knows what's coming. He knows that this is the evening he's going to be betrayed, that he's going to be arrested, he's going to be denied, he's going to be put on trial before being crucified tomorrow. He knows that the end is here, but he wants to share a final meal with his closest friends first. Now, Christians are familiar with this meal as we reference it every time that we celebrate communion. This is the meal that we remember, because Jesus takes the elements of the bread and the cup from this Passover meal, and he gives them new meaning. He gives them new symbolism related to himself and the sacrifice that he is about to pay. Just put yourselves in the disciples' shoes just for a moment. Imagine being at that meal, celebrating together, when Jesus suddenly starts talking about his body being given for you and his blood being poured out. And then he has the audacity to say that one of you will betray him. I wonder how you feel, how you would react. Peter, as he often does, speaks up and claims that he is ready to go to prison with Jesus and to even die with him. Jesus responds by telling him that he's going to deny Jesus 3 times during the night. How do you think Peter felt at this? Confident that it wasn't going to happen? Perhaps an "I'll show you" kind of attitude? Or perhaps fear and worry that it just might be true? We see that after the denials have taken place, once Peter realizes exactly what he's done, that he leaves weeping bitterly. He knows he's let Jesus down. He knows that he's failed him in his time of need, despite all his bravado and big claims. He leaves, perhaps because he can't see Jesus like this. He can't witness how he's being treated. He can't look at him because he recognizes his own failure. We each have our own failures, the times when we've let Jesus down and denied him. Perhaps not with our words, or at times, perhaps at other times with our actions, and perhaps by not living as God intends for us to do so. But the story didn't end here. Jesus forgives Peter later on, as we see in John chapter 21. And he forgives us too. Father, in the Garden of Gethsemane, we see the disciples sleeping when they should be praying. Later we see them fleeing when you're taken away, and we see Peter denying that he knew you. Father, it's easy to be critical of the disciples for this, but we know that we too have let you down. We too have denied you at times. We too have failed you. But we thank you that our failure doesn't define us, because you forgive us. Through Jesus giving up his body and shedding his blood for us, we can be made clean. Our sin is washed away and forgotten about. Thank you that despite the horrific pain and suffering he was about to encounter, Jesus was willing to go ahead with the plan, despite the obvious anguish. Thank you that he was willing to give up his life that we might live. In his name I pray.